Hey guys! Welcome back. We are playing more. What is this? Stafford Case. More supernatural mysteries. We passed the test last episode, and now we are here at the theater trying to figure out who killed Houdin. Houdin? I feel like Houdin is more French, but Houdin sounds more like Houdini, which I think is a reference. This is the scene of so let's get into it. This is the scene of the crime. The office of the victim, Houdin, also listed as the lounge. Quite luxurious for a lounge. Because the room is so spacious, they must have decided to use it for more than just your average lounge. They say the victim spent most of his time here. And our culprit must have also known to come here if they wanted to find the victim. We're going to look for clues here. Give me a hand. I thought Detective Brian already finished the investigation of the room. Do we really need to do a second sweep? We do. Just like there are certain pieces of trace evidence only Brian can see, there are other clues that will only show up for me. Come to think of it, I haven't told you my skill, have I? Now that you're saying so, I guess you're a staffer too, huh? What on earth sort of skill might you have? Contact memory recall. I can read the memories of items with a single touch. It's commonly known as psychometry? Psychometries? I think psychometry. You can read the memories of items I don't really follow. I think it might be better to show you. You see that teacup on the table? Yes, of course. I have a great deal of suspicions about that cup. Is that so? Indeed, it was right next to the body, meaning it could have been poisoned, no? But wasn't the victim bludgeoned to death? So, I shall read into the memories of this suspicious teacup. She's just ignoring me now. Good, I've read them. You're already done? You used your skill? What, did you think I was going to start glowing whenever I use my skill or something? That's a rather ugly stereotype people have when it comes to staffers. The thought never crossed my mind. You probably didn't see us sense a thing. But just a second ago, the events of this cup experience the past 72 hours just flashed through my mind. And out of all the events of the past 72 hours, one or two memorable events remained planted in my brain. Memorable events? For example, with this particular cup, it's worth noting that not a single memory of someone's lips touching the rim of the cup remained. It means no one drank coffee out of this cup the past few days. So even if the coffee has been poisoned, the victim had no chance to drink it. It seems so. Though we know the victim was bludgeoned to death, so that was never a possibility in the first place. Of course, a thought never occurred to me. Do you understand what exactly my skill entails now? I do, but if your skill allows you to read the past of different objects, couldn't you just read the face of the culprit from an object's memory? I cannot. Sight isn't an option. Huh? There are only 3 senses I can get from an object. Sound, smell, and touch. I can't get a read on anything besides those 3. Put more simply, the cup doesn't have eyes, does it? It's sort of like that. So my question is, with this, is it every object it's only sight, sound, and touch? Is it always those 3? So, like, if you were to look at, like, if you were to touch, like, a doll or something that has eyes, would you then have the ability of sight? Or would it not exist because there is no conscious in it? Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm now just like, can we please have like 72 hours of like Furby POV? The cup doesn't have ears and nose or nerves either. Since there's no visual information, the past I can siphon off is quite fragmented. Yet, what I can read helps out the investigation a great deal. Oh, gosh. When Lady Luck shows her beautiful face, I can even hear the voice of the culprit. In those cases, I bet you all can find the criminal in a heartbeat. We can. Not bad, huh? So, shall we begin our investigation? I'll read the memories that remain in this room. You listen to my explanation, take notes of the parts that you think are important, and fashion them into a document. Use this. It's called a memory survey. So this is the document recording the past memories left at the scene of the crime. There's a limit to the information we'll be able to glean from the past, yet this document will let us see this whole incident from a new perspective. Well then, let's begin. To find the information that will be most useful to us, the important thing will be selecting which objects to survey. Tell me which objects scattered around the scene of the crime you'd like me to investigate. Let's do the memory survey. Okay. Let's start with the flower pot. Alright, I'm going to use my skills, so back off for a moment. The flower pot on the table fell off due to an intense tremor, which is how it seemed anyway, so there wasn't much point in reading that. So this fell off the table due to the impact caused by the culprit. At the very least, we could tell the flower didn't live on and keep moving. Was that too much? It felt wrong while I was saying it. No, you're actually right on the mark. A while back, we caught a staffer who was able to control plants. The staffer manipulated the growth of vines to strangle her victim. I can't even tell a silly joke in this city. There's a water stain on the rug here. At the very least, we can tell it's not blood. Shall I get a read on it? It feels hot. Then slowly the moisture spreads, and that smell. Is it black tea? After the liquid pooled, someone crossed through it. Thinking back to the footprint in the trace photo, that may have been Julia Geller. I didn't smell anything, so was the sergeant catching a smell from the past? After smelling the black tea from the memory, I suddenly feel like having a cup myself. Would you make some later, Note? I don't know how my tea would taste. I'm not much for tea. Are you being serious? I am. I prefer coffee to tea. That's because you haven't had tried a cup of genuinely scrumptious black tea. I can speak. I'd rather save my money on that genuinely scrumptious tea and buy a cup of genuinely scrumptious coffee instead. You have no intentions on changing your mind on this, have you? Nope, I mean, maybe? Well then, the next time we meet, you may find we're enemies. Is it really that important to you? What's this art exactly? At the very least, it's not this hideous block of stone. Shall we read into its memories? I see. It seems this was originally the bust of a human head. I can't tell you the original shape for sure, but I guess it was made in the victim's likeness. Why does it look so weird now? The shape was distorted by extremely high temperature. Someone burnt the bust to the victim. Was it ice and fire working together? Or was it all three of them? How had someone managed that? Not exactly flammable material. You'd think it was our culprit who did this, but why? Did someone confuse the bust for the victim? Sergeant, no one would confuse a statue for a I might have an idea. Well, it might be possible if I had a cape draped around it. Sergeant, no one puts a cape on a bust. Note, one day you're going to see a statue wearing a cape, and you won't be surprised when you do. And won't you be surprised when you do? I'm not sure about that, but whoever made the bust like this was holding quite the grudge against the victim. At least that's one possibility. This is my theory, but this was more like tea. At first I was thinking, if y'all have ever heard like the very, like, I don't know if this is necessarily like classic, but it's something that I feel like a few people have like, not a few people, but I feel like this is almost a little bit fairly discussed, but it's the idea of killing someone with like an ice pick or something like that, and like all of the evidence is washed away when the ice pick melts, And I don't mean like an ice pick, like a, 1950s ice pick lobotomy style. Like, I'm talking like literally like going out, like when it snowed or something, taking like an icicle off. I guess icicle is probably a more correct term than ice pick, but y'all get what I mean. Taking that off of like, the gutters of your house or something like that, or like off of your car or something, and stabbing someone with it. And that's what I was thinking. But with the heat now, I'm like, this has to have been done by hipster endeavor. But I'm not sure about this. But if this is like melted, that wouldn't have been the weapon. Oh gosh. I see quite a number of books that look difficult to comprehend. I bet there's a whole lot you need to know to run a theater. The victim sure was an outstanding person. You want me to read into it and see if that's the truth? He was an asshole, wasn't he? That's not right. What is it? I read into the memory of the books on the bookshelf, but I can feel no changes. How far back into the memories can you go again? As for specific memories, I can only go back 3 days, but if I'm just skimming the surface, about a month? Must have been busy these days? There are quite a number of people who view books in terms of adding to the look of a room. And there are much cheaper decorations. And then you have the people who do it to make themselves look smarter. So, like, what are the contents of the book I would look at? One second. There's one that's been moved recently. Huh? Which book? Poker for Pushovers, intermediate level. Don't need to look into that one. Okay. Let's read the chair. That's the chair the victim is sitting in. Now read into it. I don't want to know about this man's ass, though. I hear a man snoring. It's quite loud. As the snoring continues, I feel a large impact. Then, the snoring stops. It's a memory from the time the victim was murdered. Seems that way. Our murderer must have been aiming to take him out when he was sleeping. Could you tell me what time the memory was from? I cannot. I only know that it happened roughly within the past 2 days. Surprisingly, these are quite inconvenient supernatural abilities. Watch your tongue. Sorry. They aren't supernatural abilities, they're skills. Terminology is important. Be careful you don't mess it up. Right. As for the time of the crime, Brian's trace photo will be much more helpful than whatever I can give you. Shall we ask him to look into it later on? Oh my gosh, that keep yawning. A dartboard. Probably not related to the crime, but shall we read into it? It's got darts stuck in it, however, they weren't thrown by any normal hand. It was something stronger, almost like they were shot out of a gun. So Yulia. Probably. Geller, right? Not just darts in it either, huh? These are playing cards. For instance, the King of Spades. How do you get playing cards stuck in a dartboard? Well, magicians can throw cards like they're weapons. At least that's the image I'm getting. I'm not seeing that, so don't go framing it out quite yet. Okay. Like, pretty much everything has been, like, telling us. We can zoom in? Because I'm kind of just clicking buttons because I'm like, I don't see where we have 2 other things. So should I read into this feather? I hear the death cries of a bird as it's being ripped apart. The sound of a blade digging into flesh. This feather was dropped with a flap of its wing. Then this feather was dropped from a living bird. Since this is a theater used for a circus, I imagine it came from a pigeon used for the show. Speaking of which, a dead pigeon was found during the search for the murder weapon. This feather is probably from that pigeon. The feather probably stuck to the body of whoever killed that pigeon and fell off whenever said person visited the scene of the crime. At least that's a fair suspicion.
So you think whoever killed that pigeon is our murderer?
Probably. Having a live pigeon on your person could interfere with carrying out a crime.
But a pigeon won't exactly bark like a dog or anything, so did the culprit really have to kill it?
Oh no, London pigeons bark.
I thought you were joking at first, but since the city has supernaturally gifted people in it, I feel like you might be telling me the truth.
Of course I'm joking. The pigeons here are just pigeons. Though I'm not sure if creature pigeons can bark.
Creature pigeons, more fantastical jargon. The fact that the sergeant throws all this jargon around, like the words are commonplace, is quite disconcerting. Okay. There's gotta be something on the... I thought we already did the teacup!
That cup doesn't look at all suspect.
It suffered all manner of disgrace, but at the end of all that suffering, its integrity was confirmed untainted. Miss Julia Geller was the one who brought this when she first came on scene, correct? Or the second time when she came on scene.
I cannot stop yawning. Seems likely. I don't think she was lying when she said she was bringing him coffee the moment she discovered the body. The problem is, the earlier 7:30 visit. Why did Geller visit the scene of the crime before bringing him coffee? And why hide the truth from us?
I did say we shouldn't point the finger at Miss Geller for this, but I also can't help but be suspicious.
With how things stand now, the person most likely to have committed the crime is still Geller. Unless we find some other possibility, the blame will most likely fall on her in the end. I think we've investigated everything worth looking into. Took a proper recording of everything. This is top-notch memory survey.
I think we found some oddities, but nothing with any clear connection to our case.
Don't be too disappointed. Give it some time, then you'll start to see the meaning behind the clues we've just uncovered.
Still, I feel like we're missing something. Isn't there anything that stands out to you, Sergeant?
Well, if I had to pick one thing, maybe the ceiling.
The ceiling? What about it?
You see? If you look carefully, you'll see there's blood on the ceiling. When we find blood on the ceiling, most often it means the victim and the assailant got into a physical altercation. Blood splatter usually comes off the backswing on an already bloodied weapon.
And in this case, the victim was killed with a single blow, no? We found no signs of a struggle on the corpse.
Precisely, which is why this blood splatter feels out of place. I'd love to get up there and read its memory, but that would be no easy feat. Maybe because this is a theater, and the ceilings are about 5 meters up.
There's blood on the ceiling.
Pandy! Julia Geller is ready for questioning. Would you like to get started?
That voice, was that Detective Thana?
Her voice is coming from me.
So a walkie-talkie.
Where will we carry out this interrogation?
We've got the suspect in a green room. The small, dark space makes it perfect, don't you think?
Sounds good. Give us 5 minutes.
Sergeant, what's that?
Huh? It's a spork. We use these instead of walkie-talkies.
So, it's a walkie-talkie shaped like a spork?
No, it's a spork. A cross between a spoon and a fork.
I know that much, but tell me, why is Thana's voice coming from a spork? How exactly does it work?
I'm not quite sure myself. After all, we can't be sure which objects will become staff.
Staff?
I guess you're not completely in the know. We call objects with special abilities, like this spork, for instance, staff. Just like staff, as these objects are also phenomena.
Then staff is like the object version of a staffer.
In truth, staffers are the human versions of staff, but, I mean, you get the gist of it. Here, now you've got one too. If you want to get a hold of someone, just hold it upside down and speak.
Why does it have to be a spork? Let's not dwell on that. I should focus on the case.
Note, you're going to play an active part in interrogations as well now.
Can I really?
It's important you experience a little bit of everything. I have matters to attend to that require me to leave the theater for a while. While I'm out, you go help Thena.
Okay, I'll go give it a try. Though I'm not sure I'll actually be of much help.
It's true, we have no idea if you'll actually be of much help, but it'll be better than you not tagging along.
I don't think I'll be of zero help, though.
You think so? Then I'll be looking forward to seeing what you can do.
Not too much, though. Well, it sure does make me want to get something done. Detective Thana said the suspect would be in the green room, right? Let's go to our temporary interrogation room.
Welcome to the world of interrogations. It's rather admirable you've dragged yourself all this way to help me, Note.
I guess the Note nickname is catching on.
In the beginning, it was my job to decide on nicknames within the Mana Affairs Division, but this time, looks like Pandy beat me to it.
Speaking of the whole Pandy thing, you're talking about Sergeant Pandoria Redfins, right? I'm not sure how appropriate it is to call a superior officer by a nickname.
A nickname is part of one's identity. It's what you need to survive when you work in this field.
What field is she working in where this is normal for her?
Excuse me, how long am I gonna have to wait? I'd like to get this over with.
This woman. Is she Yulia Geller?
That she is? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, miss. I'm Notre Case of the Man Affairs Division.
No need for introductions. I won't remember you anyway.
You're a staffer, right, Miss Geller? I've heard you were gifted with telekinesis.
You should have all my information since I gave you my bureau file before. Can't you figure it out from what's written there?
With all that strange jargon on that document, I honestly couldn't have told you from a look.
Sorry, this guy's a rookie. Could you give him a demonstration? If I must, stand back while I'm using my skill. You'll only make it harder to control. Of course. Well, I could show you with this pen. How's that?
Oh, that's it?
The pen's floating. Aren't you impressed? What more do you want from me?
How can I put this? Since it's less of a magic trick and more of actual supernatural ability, I find myself quite disinterested all of a sudden. Of course my phone has to go off, it's fine. Would your audience members enjoy something like this?
Are you in your right mind? Of course I perform different stunts on stage. That was just to show you my skill. Amateur.
Miss Geller, I heard you're a clown here, but your personality doesn't seem all that cheerful.
I obviously put on a cheery act when I take the stage, but do you really expect a clown to act so ludicrously all the time? In real life? Chumps like you who can't distinguish fiction from reality are the reason Vladimir Nabokov caught so much heat.
I haven't... Wait, when did? Gosh, here's the thing. I haven't read the lead yet, but I genuinely am not sure when it published, because I'm like, if Notrick is supposed to be like, I'm guessing just really smart, I would presume he'd know who Nabokov is. I have no idea who that is. Sorry, Mr. Nabokov.
More importantly, I've already said all I need to say. So why am I here? Miss Geller, you're here because of Note here.
Huh?
We were just about to conclude you were our culprit, but Note voiced his opinion. In fact, Note's the whole reason you're getting a second chance. However, you should think carefully about what you say from now on, alright? Alright. Right up against the table, please. Okay. Hey, Note.
Huh?
It's good to be polite and all, but now's not the time. A detective shouldn't be looked down upon. Understand?
Yes, I understand.
I mean, not that you've got the most polite way of speaking ever. So, Miss Geller, I've got a question for you.
Alright.
About the day in question. Before you happened upon the body, did you see the victim at all? Since we already know everything, I'd think twice about lying. Yes, I did. The ringleader called me at 7:30, so I went to see him.
Lines up with the trace photo.
You have a photo? No need to get into that. More importantly, we'd like you to tell us what happened at 7:30. I'm sorry, but I'd rather not talk about what happened then. Could you give me some time regarding that matter? Okay, then perhaps we should hear from someone else first. Okay, very well then.
Wouldn't it have been better to pry a little further?
We can pry later. If we push her too hard, I'll have a harder time detecting for abnormal heartbeats. More important than that note, you almost got us into a heap of trouble, you know.
Huh?
The fact that we use our skills on suspects is strictly confidential. If they were aware of our skills, they could think of counters to them.
Sorry, I didn't think about that.
Seriously, I haven't figured out if you're a genius or a dunce. Watch your mouth, okay? If one of our suspects caught word... Excuse me. So that's when I said it. Would you rather eat that if it tasted like ice cream, or ice cream if it tasted like that?
If you're going to change the subject, you couldn't have picked a better topic. That's sort of gross.
That's all I could think of in the heat of the moment. I have something to say. Before I feel like I started out a bit harsh. With everything going on, I've been a bit touchy and thank you for the second chance, Detective No Trick case. That's all I wanted to say.
Whoa, that's a development, huh? She just thought it wouldn't be a bad idea getting in close with the detective.
Still, she heard you. She even remembered your name note.
True. Which might be more than what everyone else has done. It's quite nice to hear honest gratitude. After all, we don't hear it often. Detective Brian? Again with the spork.
So, you bringing the suspects?
Indeed, both of them are waiting outside.
Great, lead them in one at a time. Let's start with the bloke.
Look at that fucking douchebag. I want to blame him right now. Magician Frederick Vernon at your service.
Whoa, there's a hairstyle you go spud in the crowd. You can lose your soul in a hand of cards to a hair like that.
You're like, what exactly?
Note, have you still not seen his bureau file? Here it is, have a look.
Frederick Vernon's skill is radial ignition. Ignition means he can light fires, right? And does this part mean it radiates outward from a central point?
Simple enough. Seems like something you men would enjoy.
I mean, I like fire. I'm just glad it's easy to understand than that indiscernible object manipulation. Most of my magic act makes use of my skills, things like setting fire to targets and the like. I'd love to show you, but that may be difficult due to the risk of starting a fire.
That's quite alright.
There are those skillful enough to fool us about their skills, making it necessary to check them out. But since you troop members here at the tower use your skills during performances, pulling the wool over our eyes is impossible. Still, can you really call using a skill a magic trick? Magic normally relies on illusions. Even if I did magic without the use of my skill, do you think anyone would believe it was a trick? The city is filled with staffers. I decided that instead of trying my hardest to conceal my powers and be called fraud, I'd openly show them. Thankfully, the response was satisfactory.
Plus, there's something romantic about a man who can shoot fire out of his hands. Preferably blue fire, but, you know.
Just saying. And that might just be in your personal preference speaking. But,
sorry. Calling you in here so suddenly must be quite the inconvenience, yes?
No, it's quite alright. The man wearing the monocle provided me with a blanket and a spot of tea after turning on some classical music. Seems like the Bureau treats her suspects quite nicely.
It's the man wearing the monocle who goes to strange lengths.
More importantly,
I'd like to move on to discussing the case. That's why you called me. That's why you called for me, is it not?
Shouldn't we? Then please, scoot in close to the table.
Well then.
Could you tell me about the last time you saw the deceased?
If you'd like. It's Mr. Vernon. He doesn't seem as hot as his hairstyle makes him out to be. Let's do our first speech review. We'll take care of this asshole, then we'll probably end up interviewing the other one next time. Visited the scene of the crime about 8:30. It was due to personal matters I had to discuss with the victim. So if he went 8:30,
he was there 8:30. We don't have footprints, though.
Knocked on the door for almost 5 minutes, but there was no response. Couldn't hear the slightest bit of movement from inside. So I just went back to what I was doing. I didn't go inside. Couldn't have killed him. Besides, there were no hard feelings between him and I. That is sus. That's all I know.
Shorter statement than I imagined. He seemed like he had a lot to say.
Well, that's why you shouldn't judge based on appearances.
No, with hair like that? You should be ending every sentence with fire. Or at the very least, you could add in some passion, no?
So ridiculously rude is almost admirable.
Anyway, first things first, check out the statements we've got so far, note.
Alright, let's see here. We've got 2 new documents, his bureau file and his statement. Should take a look at them. Since I'm not a staffer, the only thing I can do is help. Do to help is look for clues within the document written by others. Let's think. If I can find something worth noting and point it out, I might be able to find another clue. I want to bring something.
Here's the thing. The personal matters, he doesn't say, but then it's like there are no hard feelings.
Let's try this real quick. Okay. What? Okay. Sorry. I looked at the screen that I'm using to watch, it's not, the screen just blacked out, but I don't think anything happened on the recording. Okay. Hold on. Oh wait. Not that one. Vernon's. Okay, 8:30, which would have been 8:30. But there's this square shape impression. I don't know if this is what they're getting at. Okay. I just want to straight up ask about that. It has to be something here. I wonder if we can do this. Hold on. Oh. Let's pull this. Okay. See what we can do about this. Yeah. Detective Thana, did you happen to see the odd decoration adorning the scene of the crime?
Huh? I think I saw it. Yeah, are you talking about that work of art only the people in the know could appreciate?
Work of art? Was there such a work?
You don't know? It's displayed right next to the bookshelf.
Of course Mr. Vernon doesn't know. It's no simple work of art after all. It was a bust modeled after the victim.
Really? Then why does it look like it's swallowed up by the abyss?
According to the sergeant's investigation, someone melted it down with a powerful flame.
Aha! Fire, huh?
How did you think that happened? There wasn't exactly a bonfire in that room, and there were no signs the bust was carried out. Is it even possible to make a bust look like that? The only way that's possible is if it was done by a staffer with an ignition skill.
The staffer must have absolutely hated the victim. The nerve required to make a bust of the victim into an abstract artwork.
Mr. Vernon? Yes? With you and the victim, things were bad, huh? I would like to apologize.
Logic.
Why lie? I'm sorry, I figured if you found out I got into a scuffle with the ringleader, you might turn your suspicions towards me. I thought about being honest with you, but you're all...
Part of the Bureau, right?
Why's that matter? You're right. Since I'm also a staffer, I figured showing weakness in front of the Bureau, well, I should say I had a bad feeling about it. I heard that the Bureau had a bad reputation, at least at first glance. I had no idea people trusted us this little. No, it's not even a question of trust. I feel like Mr. Vernon's actually terrified of us.
I'm not completely unaware of what you may be feeling, but making assault statements will only hurt you in the end. I'm going to write up a new statement. Will you be honest this time?
I will. No one could have gotten along with that man. He never had the greatest personality, but it only got worse these past few days. I'm aware that he's amassed quite the gambling debt, so I wager that that's probably the reason. He's crossing the line with how much slander he threw away, and Geller got the lion's share. The only thing he could do was jump high, so he asked a whole lot from the rest of us. We ended up getting into a yelling match 2 days before the incident. Nothing good was said, so I kept it secret from the others. When I got angry and burnt the sculpture, even now, I think I went too far. That's why I went to apologize to him the day of the incident. Is this all I get out of him? Is he the one who forced you to style your hair that weird? Yes, the ringleader took his directing role very seriously, to an odd degree. Forced me to act like I'm this character full of passion. And at the end of every speech, it's fire or something similar to that exclamation point on what I'm saying. And that's how Thana would have you do it.
No, it isn't. Thought never crossed my mind.
Did too. But the victim really was like that. Why did you stay at the circus this whole time? There must have been a way to shift careers. There was not. No other troops would accept us, I can assure you that. Regardless, that's all I have for you. Sorry to disturb your investigation.
Shall we call on our next suspect then?
I just did. Careful.
I know.
So, this must be Miss Osaston. Indeed, Miss Osaston's acrobat. Here's her bureau file. Have a look. Thank you. From what I can see on your file, Miss Aston, your skill is chain ice formation? Ice formation. Ice formation. That would be freezing water into ice, but what's the chain part about? The range of my skill is less than a single centimeter, and I can only use it when I come into contact with water. However, once I use my skill a single time, it sets off a chain reaction, forming an ice block up to 5 meters. So if you merely touch the surface of a pool of water, you could freeze up to a 5-meter radius? Yes, and I've shown that exact ability up on stage before.
However, I'm not able to freeze any liquid. My catalyst, the only liquid I'm able to freeze, is purified water.
I see. Got a general idea of her skill now. However, Miss Aston, unlike the previous two, actually have a catalyst on her bureau file. I should probably keep that in mind.
Now that we're done with the introductions, shall we get on to the main show?
The main show, huh? This woman's just as straight as forward as Mr. Vernon.
All right, let's get to it. Before you begin your testimony, would you mind scooting up close to the table for me?
Of course. After all, I'm quite the cool character.
Let's do speech review too.
I went to his office only once, that time maybe 8 in the evening. However, I didn't step inside. When I stopped, the ringleader was sleeping. I was worried he'd get angry if I woke him, so I returned to our green room. A time after I heard Yulia's screams. I sprinted into the office when I heard her screams were coming from to find his corpse.
Are you alright, miss?
Whatever could you mean?
When you recalled the incident in question, it looked like you were trembling.
I believe you're mistaken. Such affairs hardly affect me.
Few people would use such affairs to describe a murder. Aston, you seem rather unique individual. You haven't touched that ice lolly you're holding, so why carry it around with you? Perhaps Sir Vernon said he was acting out a passionate character on stage, right? Then Miss Aston is also playing character. We're not exactly on stage, so why keep up the act? Besides, what character is this supposed to be? One with a split personality? Since Mr. Vernon with his fire was made to focus on his passion, Miss Aston's probably acting out a cool-headed character. Thinking about her like that, I do feel quite sympathetic. Detective Thana, what's the matter?
Dear Lord, if I haven't figured it out, Miss Aston's lying to you.
Excuse me, what manner of accusation is that?
Miss Aston, you said you never opened the office door, right? Then how could you know the victim was sleeping?
Well, there's a perfectly good explanation for that.
The explanation is that you're the culprit. You snuck in while he was sleeping and killed the man. She must have lied about not having opened the door.
That's a rather hasty conclusion to make. And would you please work on that habit of yours? Habit you have of whipping your gun out all the time.
Is Thana secretly from Texas?
You know what they say about old habits?
Detective Thana's logic seems sound at first, but is it true? Aren't there any clues to contradict her hypothesis? Let's print out her claim and check it against some of the other documents. If I want to support or oppose someone else's opinion, I have to print out the transcript, right? Okay.
Okay. Let's pin that. We're gonna oppose Theta. Oh my gosh, we have hints in this? Okay, if he went at 8. Okay, what proof do we have about her not opening the door? Like, I'm assuming it's her statement. She said she didn't step inside. Oh, also says didn't open the door. What am I missing? Okay, let's try the hint system. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, so they just tell you which document to use. Is it that? I don't think that's right. Oh, it was. Detective Thana.
What's wrong? If you pour too much admiration on me, that might lead to some problems.
It's not that. I don't think she's lying.
What?
The part of Miss Aston's statement about not opening the door, she wasn't lying.
Huh? Why do you say that?
Please, have a look at the witness's statement we just wrote out. When she said she didn't open the door, you didn't detect any sort of abnormal heartbeat. Oh! Ah, indeed. If your claim were true, detective, you should have detected some abnormality in her heart rate when she got that part of her statement. I was looking at the statements. I wasn't looking at the fact of a lack of a heartbeat. Oops.
All right. What happened? How did Aston know the victim was sleeping?
The reason Miss Aston knew the victim was asleep, maybe it's because... Could it... Hold on.
Is it this?
I'm not sure. Oh. Of course, the sound.
What sound?
His snoring. Right when I was about to open the door, I heard the ringleader snores. His snoring was a thing to behold.
So you heard the victim snores and knew he was asleep? You really expect us to believe that?
It's true.
Why are you doing this? Why only prove my claims wrong?
What am I supposed to say to that? When the sergeant read the memory of the chairs at the scene of the crime, she said she heard snoring. Snoring only stopped after it was a dull thud. The victim was snoring right up to the moment he was killed. Then I could see no logic that leads to any sort of falsehood in her statement.
Congratulations, Note. You passed the last test.
That was no test.
Could we just say it was? Logical.
So, is my name cleared for this now?
It is. Sorry to have cast a blame where it didn't belong.
No, it's quite all right. As I said, I'm a cool-headed person, so it's natural for me to raise suspicion.
Who's going to tell her?
I should. Miss Oz Aston, you don't look least bit cool with what's going on. Instead of cool, I'd go with someone suffering from a mental breakdown.
Just the overall concept of carrying around an ice lolly to look cool. It's so one-dimensional, it actually comes off as sort of cute, no?
How could you? You're just acting cool because that's the character you play on stage, huh? You're right. When the ringleader first saw my skill, he said, "So you can control ice, huh? Let's make you the ice queen." He said I had to change my personality, my attire, even the temperature of the green room to match the chill.
This guy was insane, huh?
I'm not the most skilled actress, so I tried my hardest to keep up the cool attitude, but it seems like it's no use. I do believe we need to find more about the victim, Jean-Henri Houdin.
Could you give a statement about what sort of person Houdin was and what your opinions were of him? I'd like you to specifically focus on the role he forced upon you.
Okay, I'll try. And that will happen next time. Hope you guys enjoyed.
And I'll see y'all then. Bye!